Yo, it's me, it's the SEOTT baby, and I'm back with my review of the 2008 film, The Incredible Hulk, starring Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, Tim Roth, Tim Blake Nelson, William Hurt, and is directed by Louis Leterrier. Leterrier? Now, I can't talk about this film without talking about this film for a little bit. Yes, Ang Lee's Hulk film came out in 2003 and left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. The way it was styled, he tried to make it look like a comic book movie, and that's not the way that a comic book film is supposed to look. You get this one, and this one is much better. Initially, I believe this was actually a sequel to this, but there's several variations in the plot and the backstory that really doesn't make it, especially now when I watch this, and I do sometimes, not often, if at all, but I watched it when I bought it, that's about it. And then I watched that. They're not even loosely connected, except for a cameo from Stan Lee and Lou Ferrigno. That's about the only connection they have. This is like a totally different kind of story, where this one actually goes by the comics. And again, my connection to the Incredible Hulk goes back to the 90s cartoon series. The animated series is what I remember when it comes to the Incredible Hulk. And going into this, I knew it was going to be better than the original. And I knew it was going to be different in a way. And I guess people don't like this film as much. I think it's a pretty good film. Is it necessary in the long scope of the MCU? No, it's kind of the redheaded stepchild of the MCU, to be honest. There's very little connection outside of an appearance from Robert Downey Jr. at the end of the film, and the fact that General Ross shows up, or Secretary Ross is now known, shows up in a couple other films in the franchise later on. But I think the reason that people are down on this film is that it's not a big grand spectacle. Even Iron Man, for as down to earth as it was, still had that feel of a big superhero fighting bad guys, flying around, taking out terrorists. This one's not like that. And that's never been what The Incredible Hulk is about. The Incredible Hulk is a fusion of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, meaning with the Harrison Ford film, The Fugitive, fusing together, where he's on the run. He's in hiding. He wants to, be normal, but he can't do anything about it when he's on the run. And then he's forced to go back to the United States because there's someone there that can help him. And he runs into his former love interest, who is the Bennon's current boyfriend, I guess. And, maybe another reason is that the Hulk's not in it that much. Well, two reasons for that. One, CGI costs. Probably want to keep that down, especially in 2008. And two, you don't really need it. You don't need to have a lot of the Incredible Hulk when it comes to the Incredible Hulk, because the story is not about the Incredible Hulk itself, but about a man trying to avoid becoming the Incredible Hulk. And yes, future versions of the Hulk in the MCU would sort of, mess with that and change it and flip it around. But as it goes for this film, the basis of an Incredible Hulk film, you don't need to have a lot of the Incredible Hulk. I do like the story. I like the idea that he's got a heart monitor on to make sure his heart rate doesn't go too fast and he doesn't start to turn. I like that. I like that he's in hiding. I like that he's trying to protect everyone from getting in trouble. He cuts his finger, blood falls on the thing. He's trying to make sure that none of it gets into any bottles, even though they show it got into the bottle. Not only into the bottle, but it's very obvious, and it's right there. He should have seen it. But it's very obvious it's on that bottle. Anyone can see it. Even one of the workers should have stopped and said, "Hey, there's blood there." But no, it's just another way to get for Ross to figure out that he's there. The characters, the actors. I think Edward Norton does fine as Bruce Banner. Is Mark Ruffalo better? Yes. We'll never know exactly why he didn't come back. There's conflicting. There's some saying he wanted more money, and I said no. That's Terrence Howard. What they said about Terrence Howard too is that he wanted more money. They're saying that he actually helped write some of the script with Zach Penn, and Zach Penn was the only one credited for it. That could be a reason. Another reason is that he just wanted to do other things, which is the reason that Edward Norton himself gives. Edward Norton himself is not bad in this film. I actually like him in this film. He's not a bad actor. I like him in quite a few things. He's good here. But Mark Ruffalo, for what they were going for in the later versions of the Hulk and Bruce Banner, it works. They're good at playing both their versions of Bruce Banner. It works. Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. She's very good. There's one thing. William Hurt as General Barney Thunderbolt Ross. I like him. I think he's a good for this character. But one of the only things I did like about this is the portrayal of Thunderbolt Ross as portrayed by Samuel Elliott. I don't have the mustache to do the thing, but yeah, he was like the only good thing about that film was Sam Elliott. And here you have William Hurt, who is good. He's very good in the role, and he's good to replace him if anything. And like I said, he's great. He's a father. He's a general. He cares about his daughter, but there's a point where she gets in danger, and the Hulk saves her, and you see in his eyes that maybe this thing isn't all bad like we think, and that's what leads to eventually him having to trust the Hulk to take out Abomination. There are a few characters in here I didn't know were certain characters, like Doc Samson being the doctor from the cartoon who ended up getting green hair and helping fight. I didn't realize that's who it was. I didn't realize that Dr. Samuel Stearns would later go on to be the leader, who was one of the main villains in the animated series. Because I thought initially when I first watched this film he was dead. That his brain swelling was him having an aneurysm or something. Now watching it now, he smiles. They were setting up for the leader, which we're never going to get because apparently there's rights issues. And so they just wrote them off and small little parts on either Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or those one-offs where they say that the Abomination or Blonsky, he's locked up, and they did something with Stearns, he's locked up, so they're not even going to bring him back, and they can't make a standalone Hulk film. And the way they have done the Hulk over the past several years, they had known what they were going to do with the Hulk, so they weren't ever planning on doing one. And now I don't think it would work. Because, like I said, the story of the Hulk goes a certain way, and now that you've completely changed the character of the Hulk throughout the 10 years, 11 years in the MCU, yeah, it's just, there's no way to do it without reverting back to the old, the way it's supposed to be. Continuing with the characters, the Abomination. Okay, so like I said, I grew up with the animated series, and in the animated series, the main bad guy was the leader. So says the leader. He was voiced by Matt Frewer, and it was a good villain. And he's not in this, sort of he is, but he had two lackeys. One big burly guy and one little gray guy. And I was always on the assumption this big burly green guy was Gargoyle, and I know what this little guy was. It turns out the little guy was Gargoyle, because I watched the animated series later after this film came out. They had a Disney XD and stuff, and they called the big guy Abomination. I'm like, oh, that's Abomination. I always thought that was Gargoyle, and the little guy's Gargoyle. Okay, I get it. There's also another character from the animated series that has never made an appearance yet, and that's the character of Rick. I don't know if he was specifically for the animated series or not, but he was a lot of times he was like Betty to the Hulk. He was a friend, an ally to both the Hulk and Bruce Banner. He was one of the few that were like that. I'm upset that they never used him, but for the Incredible Hulk, I think this is a great adaptation of the Incredible Hulk from the comics and the cartoons, wherever you want to adapt it from. I think it's a great adaptation, and it's a shame that it doesn't get more praise than it does. People say because it doesn't have that many connections to the MCU that it's not really part of the MCU, but it is. It is, and it works. I mean, it works as standalone. If you could go from Iron Man to Iron Man 2, skip this, and you wouldn't really miss much because of the way they sort of introduce the Hulk in the Avengers, because it's a new actor, it's sort of a new character as well. You don't really need. That's because a lot of things that aren't really mentioned, like I said, some of the villains, some of the other characters. Ross is eventually reintroduced, but he's kind of a different point in his life where it could be a totally different character if you wanted it to. If I had to say anything bad about it, the CGI, and no, it's 2008. The CGI isn't the best. There's some stuff in daytime that kind of just, makes it a little bit dated, but that's to be, that's to be expected when you watch one from 2008. What else? I mentioned most of the stuff. Sorry. Yeah. I like the final fight when he jumps out of the helicopter and he thinks he's gonna change before he hits the ground, but he's not. Once he realizes that, he goes, "Oh shit!" and he hits the ground and then he turns. I always thought that was kind of funny. What else is there to say? I think I've ran out of stuff to like. The ending. Okay, so there's no post-credit scene in this film, but there is the scene at the end where General Ross is at a bar, he's drinking, he's smoking a cigar, and Tony Stark comes in and he starts to talk to him about putting together a team. And that was the scene where I was talking about with my friend, and he's like, "Well, there's a thing at the end of Iron Man." I'm like, "What? No, there's not." He goes, "Yeah, there is." And that's what got me looking at that. So, yeah. So, like I said, for every MCU, I want to point out my favorite one-liner or line from the film, and here it's an interesting one because it's in Portuguese, but it's where he says, and it's foreshadowed because he's saying the word hungry in Portuguese, trying to get that word down, and here he's trying to tell them the infamous catchphrase, "Don't make me angry, you won't like me when I'm angry," but because he was practicing hungry, he says in Portuguese, "Don't make me hungry, you won't like me when I'm hungry," and he says, "No, that's not right." That's my favorite line from this film. I've always liked that. So, Incredible Hulk, it's gonna get an 8 because I like this. I think it's one of the better films even if it's disconnected, I think it's still one of the better films in the MCU. Probably, maybe in my top 10, maybe. Some other ones will come across, maybe be lower, but I do enjoy this film. I enjoy watching it. I found myself laughing at a lot of it. People say, "Oh, this isn't really funny." There's some funny points. But yeah, the story of the Incredible Hulk lends it to being serious. So I get why there's not a lot of funny. There's like stretchy pants when she brings he wants more stretchy pants, so he looks at this fat guy behind him and puts his one pants and they're not stretchy enough, so he gets a bigger pair. Or when she brings the purple pants in and he just kind of shakes it off. I know, but yeah. It's a decent film. So what are your thoughts on The Incredible Hulk? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.